Hey friends, Ash here with GENTSTEN, back with my wife Chelsea. And today we're doing kind of a twist on a video that was requested by one of you guys where you wanted her to smell 10 Lattafa fragrances and choose which ones you thought were the best.
Yep.
But instead, what we're doing is I have 7 different Lattafa fragrances here, 7 of their most well-known, and they're going up against the real deal. So we've got the clone going up against the actual fragrance that it's cloning, and you're gonna smell both, the opening and the dry down, and you're gonna let us know, is the clone a good alternative or a great alternative? Is it better? Is it maybe really bad? Whatever, you're gonna tell us. And I'm gonna shut up and say nothing about either fragrance so I don't sway you.
Okay, we'll see.
Very scientific. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. And before we jump into the clones, the codes, they are for twistedlily.com and maxaroma.com. The code is
GENTS10. Save yourself 10% off the entire website.
the whole website. If you spend a lot of money, that's decent savings.
Yeah, actually it is.
So I have my handy dandy notebook, much like Steve from Blue's Clues, right here. And I'm gonna jot down what you say. I don't know if we should score these. Do you want to score them or?
Let's score them how close they are.
Oh, how close they are. Okay.
The real thing, the real deal.
Okay, that works. All right. So we're starting off the real deal fragrance, Oud for Greatness. This is of course Initio Parfum, and that's going up against Oud for Glory. You see this, the resemblance.
I mean, that's a clone and a half.
Can you tell?
Yeah, it's very obvious what that is a clone of. This is actually, I mean, a pretty good alternative. Like, it's actually pretty close.
You would hope so when you look at the friggin' packaging, because if it's not, you're doing a bad job.
They're so close in the dry down that it's actually really difficult to tell them apart. So that's a really good clone. I mean, that's not something that's like super hardcore up my alley of fragrances that I love. It smells really good. But I have a very specific like niche within a niche of fragrances that I like to smell. But it smells actually really good and it smells really close. I'm gonna give that like a 9.5.
That's a high rating.
I mean, in the opening, you can tell, you know, a little bit of like, this is a little bit different than this. But I mean, as far as the dry down, like I can hardly even tell the difference.
Overall, do you think the real deal smells a little bit better, but that they're very close, or like? I would say that the real deal smells a little bit better, but they're really close. Like that is one that, I mean, so in the air, people probably.
Yeah, and if this is significantly cheaper than the real deal.
It is. The next one, the real deal, is none other than Aqua di Gio Profumo, and that will be going up against Sucrat.
I forgot how kind of spicy Profumo is a little bit.
It's got like incense in it, so it gives it that little
spice kind of, little
smoky pop. You sound like a child when they drink orange juice and they go like, that's spicy.
Yeah, or toothpaste.
Yeah.
That's really spicy.
So there's the Lattafa going up against the Armani.
It smells close, but the Lattafa, I feel like, is not even remotely going to give you the performance that the Profumo does.
It's not going to give you that amount of pop.
Yeah, like I can tell off a tester strip, and it may be different off skin, who knows? But off a tester strip, the Profumo is, you can tell it's going to last way longer than the Lattafa one. And I don't know that the Lattafa gives you as much of that incense, like you were saying. It's not as incensey as the Profumo is. It's close, but it's not as incensey. And,
yeah, some of them are more like close to being a one-to-one, and then others are more like that fragrance, but with a little twist.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens very often with clones where you can tell what it's cloning, but they try to do like a little thing and make it sort of like their own version of the fragrance they're cloning. So some of these are like that, and then other ones are more just like a straight up one-to-one.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
7.5. Same kind of deal with the other one where you prefer the original?
Yeah, I definitely prefer the original. That one is more, I feel like, obvious than the last one. I do really prefer the Profumo.
All right, next up, the OG Elixir, Sauvage Elixir. There you go. Vanna Whiting, the bottle. And that is gonna go up against Assad, probably one of the more well-known clones from Lattafa. Hit me with your knowledge.
It's one of those ones where the dry down is really close.
Those are both really strong. So like I'm sitting where I just sprayed it and it's like invading my lungs right now.
Yeah. The dry down is really close. The opening is pretty similar too. I mean, this is a pretty good clone. It's one of those things where it's really difficult to be like, yes, this is, a 1-to-1, but you're almost there. Almost. I obviously like the Elixir more. However, it's really not. It's kind of like minimal because the clone is actually a pretty good clone. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Yeah, that one I think is a really good one. I think it's really well done. It's got good performance, quality is good, and it's way cheaper. So that's kind of the deal.
Yeah.
Like if you can get really close and you're saving so much money, then in the air, probably everybody is not gonna know.
The average person is not even remotely going to be able to be like, oh yeah, that one is obviously the real deal and this one is a fake.
You're wearing a clone, douche.
Yeah.
I can tell. It's not gonna happen unless you come across me. I'm just playing, I wouldn't do that anyway. Next up, Angel Share by Kilian.
So this one's one that I actually really, really like. I love Angel Share. I think it smells phenomenal. Especially that opening. Oh, Lord Jesus, give me that opening. So this is one that I'm actually like really excited to do like a comparison on.
So it's going up against Khamrah. Look, they even got similar bottles.
I know, look at that. They're twinning. Man, that is a good clone. And actually what's kind of crazy is the Lattafa. I feel like that banger of an opening that it has, that it shares with the by Kilian, is it actually sticks around longer. The opening sticks around longer than Angel Share, the real deal, does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a twist, but the approach to the sweetness is a little bit different in the clone.
Yeah, I feel like the clone has maybe got a little bit more like caramelly kind of sweetness going on. Maybe that's the reason why it sticks around longer than the actual Angel Share does.
Yeah, like when I was wearing them side by side, Angel Share had a little more like slight chocolatey sort of sweet. And then the Khamrah is like a little more like a boozy sweet. Maybe that's like an easy way to describe it.
So I'm actually gonna give that a 9. Like I think that this is a really good clone. And I don't even know that I would almost prefer one to the other. I think any given day, I might prefer to wear the clone versus the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, I like them both a lot.
Yeah.
I think, of course, price is one of the big reasons that Khamrah would be like one that you could pretty easily recommend just because it's so cheap, comparatively speaking. All right, the next one up, the original is Aventus. Have you ever heard of it?
I had never heard of it before. Tell me about it.
It's got a little dude on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much it. And that's going up against Aldur Al Maknoon Silver.
Hey, I mean, that's actually not that bad. I feel like you did a pretty good job on that.
This is one of the Lattafas that I bought many years ago, and it has a cheap dangly thingamajig.
So it's close, but I don't think that it's as close as a lot of the other ones that I've smelled.
Yeah, see, most of these, all these other ones are like newer-ish ones that they've done, and that one's an older one.
Gotcha.
So I think maybe they have, over time, stepped the game up a little bit, you would say.
I'm going to give it's in the same family, but I'm actually going to say that that's like a 5 as far as being super close to the real thing. And obviously, I mean, I'm going to prefer Creed over the Lattafa.
After that, we have Y Eau de Parfum, and that will go up against Fakara Black. Y Fakara.
So this one is, I feel like, kind of in the middle. It's not like really super close, but then it's also not super far off either. They're obviously in the same family. You can clearly tell what it is a clone of, but it's not for me quite as close as like the Angel Share or the Oud for Greatness and Oud for Glory. You know, it's not that kind of close and similar, but it is pretty similar. I'm gonna give that a 7.5.
So that's like the same as the Aqua di Gio Profumo rating. So both of those, it's like, it's close.
Yeah.
But it's not as close. It's like
Right.
with a twist.
Yes.
Yeah, both of those are good for being your more versatile type fragrances as compared to some of the others. Because most of the other ones, other than the Aventus, of course, are like fall, winter time type scents. And then these are like whenever you want type scents.
Yeah, and I definitely like the YSL Y EDP more. I would
Well, yeah,
prefer
that's
that
a
one.
big old compliment cooler.
Yeah, it's hard to say that you would like any clone of that one more than the real deal.
So then we have the last, but not least, original Tom Ford Ombre Leather.
Man, I'm not such a huge fan of like, you know, leathery oud kind of fragrances, but this is such a good fragrance.
And then the clone is called Amber and Leather. Now, technically, this is Maison Alhambra, but I think that that's part of Lattafa. That's how it's always listed. So we're rolling with it.
Man, the Tom Ford is so good.
You can tell pretty obviously
Oh yeah,
what's going on there.
it's such a smooth leather. It's so good. The clone definitely is not as smooth as the real deal. They were not able to replicate that like just complete smoothness that the Tom Ford has. But I'm sure that's probably a difficult thing to kind of replicate. Is just how well it
especially
is.
when you consider the
Ingredients.
the price for the ingredients
Yeah.
being used is not comparable.
The majority of people out there are not at all going to be able to be like, oh yeah, this one is the real deal. But there's definitely going to be some out there that are going to be able to tell that the real Tom Ford is much more smooth. And you can tell that overall is a higher quality fragrance. Like you give these to my mom and she is not going to be able to tell the difference at all. But there are probably a good amount of people out there too that would be able to tell the difference.
People more into fragrances, I guess.
The amber and
and
leather.
leather.
Yeah. So the amber and leather it's definitely a little bit more harsh than the real Tom Ford is. Not in a super crazy hardcore way. It's just one of those things that when you're smelling them side by side, you can obviously tell.
I want.
You want to smell?
Yeah, I mean it's maybe like slightly vegetal even. I mean I think it smells fine.
I'm gonna do start getting into 0.25s and do a 7.75.
7.75. Okay, so this is all fine and good. Choose the 3 best smelling Lattafa fragrances, not the closest to whatever they're cloning, just the 3 that you think smell the best.
Oh, well, I mean, number 1 is definitely gonna be the Khamrah.
Khamrah.
That is a good fragrance in general, like completely by itself, but it's also a really good clone. The opening, I actually really like how that it lasts a little bit longer even than the real thing.
And then number 2.
You know, I'm not a huge fan of like leathery type of fragrances, but I'm actually gonna go with the amber and leather.
As the second best smelling.
Yeah. It smells very manly and masculine, and it's cold outside right now, so I feel like that one would be one that I would like to, you know, be, I don't know, like go on an ice skating date, and you can
Better
wear
than
that on.
Assad, the Elixir one.
Yeah, I think so.
And what's number 3?
Probably that one, the Assad, because it smells like Dior Elixir. And
Sauvage Elixir.
Sauvage Elixir. Dior Sauvage Elixir. It smells really close to that. And I mean, obviously, that's a really good fragrance. So you're not really going to make anybody mad by wearing that.
And I guess lastly, did any of these smell off-putting to you?
Not necessarily off-putting. I would say that the Creed clone, that one, it smells good, but there are so many other Aventus clones out there that smell better than that. I mean, that's probably not even one that I would ever.
Yeah, there's a lot of alternatives out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of the things that you said. I think that Khamrah's really good. I think Assad's really good. I think that Fakhar and Sakrat get you really close to the designer fragrance they're emulating for cheaper. They're more like with the twist, like you said. But yeah, pretty much I'm there with you for the most part. Yeah.
Wow, look at us agreeing.
For the most part, yeah. So that'll do it for us here today. Thank you for hanging with us, and see you again another time. Stay safe out there.